Before going further, I want to talk to you guys about the Anchor app. I want to explain why it is the easiest and best way to create a podcast. So if you're ever thinking about creating one or hesitant, let me explain why you should use Anchor. First, it's free, so it's available to anybody. Secondly, they have creational tools available how you can record and edit your podcast on your phone or computer. Thirdly, Anchor will actually distribute your podcast for you, so it can appear on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. You can make money from your podcast with minimal listeners. It's everything that you need in a podcast in one place. So, if I have convinced you, make sure to go to anchor.fm to get started. And you can also download it on all smartphones or computers. Welcome to a brand new episode of the YouTube Boxing SZN podcast. I'm your host, Fight Lounge. On this episode, I'm going to break down Jake Paul versus Tommy Fury. I'm going to discuss their undercard. And I'm also announcing that I will be going to the fight. I actually have 4 seats. So if you guys are going to the fight, I hope to see you there. Before going further, I do want to say thank you for listening. I really appreciate it. I am not a full-time content creator. I actually have a full-time job. I just do this on the side because I enjoy YouTube boxing. I enjoy interacting with you guys and speaking about these big events. Speaking of big events, there might be 2 big ones in December. Jake Paul versus Tommy Fury and Social Knockout 3. Now, one of these events have been confirmed. Jake Paul has a undercard already officially announced. But with Social Knockout 3, it's rumored that it's going to be on December 28th, which is a Tuesday. It will be at the Coca-Cola Arena as the previous 2 Social Knockouts. But there are 0 fights confirmed. We don't even know if it's officially the December 28th yet. So it's just a lot of unknown and mystery revolving about Social Knockout 3. But hopefully, by the next time I record, hopefully we'll have some fights announced and we'll have more information released. But before I go into Social Knockout 3, I do need to talk about Jake Paul versus Tommy Fury. And I will be arriving in Tampa on Thursday. And I will be leaving Tampa and arriving home Monday. So if there's a press conference Thursday, unless it's Thursday night, like at 8 or 9, probably won't be going because I arrive at Tampa at 4:30. And I fully intend to go straight to my hotel, check in, unwind, and rest. But if I miss the press conference, that's fine because I'd rather be at the weigh-ins Friday. Okay, on the previous episode, I did a breakdown and deep dive on how we got here. Now, with less than 4 weeks away, now I'll give my prediction. And first, I will give a little. Well, this is how I see it. Like I said, both guys have something big to lose. Both Jake and Tommy Fury. Jake Paul and Tommy Fury both have a lot to lose this fight. The common criticism regarding Jake is, oh, you haven't fought a real boxer, which is insane because he literally had one amateur fight, which was against Deji. And his first pro fight was against a fellow YouTube boxer, Give. That makes sense. And then after that, he fought an athlete, Nate Robinson. One thing I love about the internet is they have amnesia. I remember people pick Nate Robinson just because, oh, he ain't YouTuber, he's an athlete, whatever. So what happened to Nate? Then, okay, we have fought a fighter, Ben Askren, as a fighter. Now, he was washed when Jake fought him, but at one point in time, Ben Askren was a pound-for-pound great MMA fighter. He just was. He never fought in UFC, but he was undefeated in Bellator and won championship. And then Jake beat him. And then he went from one washed MMA fighter to another washed up MMA fighter, Woodley. But at least Woodley was a legit UFC champion, legit one of the top 5 great welterweight. Let me rephrase that. Woolley is legit top five greatest UFC welterweights of all time. You gotta put GSP Usman up there, but he's legit. But there's a reason why he got cut. He lost 4 straight fights in UFC. He got stopped twice in his last 2 losses. But at least people knew who Woolley was, and they seen him knock out guys. But then Aspen was a wrestler, and he didn't even hide the fact. But Woolley has some fight in him, and Jake outpointed him, and he won. And if you still think Woolley lost, you have blind hatred for Jake Paul. Woolley won 2 rounds, maybe 3 if I'm being generous. But even with all that, this kid's only on his 5th fight, period. He doesn't have an amateur background. Like I said, Jake has only had 5 fights, period. Let me name it out for you. First one, amateur, Deji. His first pro, Gibb. Second pro fight, Nate. Third fight, Ben. Fourth fight, Woodley. He's now on his 5th fight. This is his 5th fight, period. And he's been boxing since 2018. It's 2021. That's 3 years, man. I know he's a villain. I know he wants you to hate him. But you have to give him some credit for literally going from vlogging to becoming a professional fighter. And again, I'll come at a professional fighter. If he boxes Tommy Fury and beats him, I would then become a pro boxer. And that's what Jake has to win because, people always say, oh, he hasn't fought a pro boxer. But like I just said, like, they always was moving the goalpost. They always had some excuse. So if Jake fights Tommy Fury and beats him, people would have to call him a pro boxer. And there will still be some who will try to push the goalpost back more and more and have some kind of excuse. I'm sorry. He's fighting a guy, Tommy Fury, who doesn't have 100 amateur fights, but I believe he has like 20. So like, let's say if Tommy has 21, that's 20 more amateur fights than Jake has. Let's say he has 51, that's 50 more amateur fights than Jake has. So he has the advantage. Another advantage, he's a Fury. His brother is the #1 heavyweight boxer in the world right now. And he's coming from a fighting family. Tyson Fury has other brothers who are boxers as well. John Fury, his dad. So he's literally come from a boxing family. So Tommy has all the advantages. And if Jake somehow beats him, everybody's put their hate to the side and say, you know what? I gotta give the devil his due. I have to give him credit for stopping. Because again, Jake didn't need to box. He was already rich. But for Jake to put down everything, sacrifice everything, sacrifice time, sacrifice his brain, because this is a tough sport, a violent sport, and to trail that in to pick up the gloves and try something totally new, something out the blue, and become good at it. If he beats Tommy Fury, you say he's a good boxer, he never win a world championship, nor should he. Like I said, he's only been training for 3 years, only had 5 fights total. But people, hopefully, majority of people giving his due. So you know what, Jake? Took a lot of shit, but you back it up. So that's what I'm hoping for. So what that describes is all the pressure that's on Jake. He can silence all the critics. He can shut up all the naysayers if he just beats Tommy Fury. But if he loses via points, there'll be some people who will still laugh and do whatever. But if he puts up a hell of a fight, he will gain a lot of respect in defeat. But if he gets KO like Nate Robinson, I think it's over. I really think that's a wrap. I think that'll be the last time we ever see him in a boxing ring. Because again, Tommy Fury is a little bit more advanced of his level. Because he had, like I said, 20 or 30 amateur fights. So if he can be a guy with that limited amateur fights, he definitely gonna be a world champion. And again, if Jake gets knocked out, like clean cut, like they have to pick him up off the canvas, get out the smell salt, the internet's going to crash. Jake Paul's going to break the internet. you would have everybody in boxing make fun of Jake Paul. You have everybody in MMA, UFC, Bellator, whoever, all MMA fighters make fun of Jake Paul. And of course, we can't forget about the other YouTubers, all the Twitch streamers, all the influencers. Jake Paul is not very liked. He's a villain, and that's what he is. I really believe if he gets knocked out like Nate Robinson, that place is gonna go insane, which is the reason why I want to be there. If Jake Paul gets knocked out, the end is gonna be crazy. It's gonna be a legendary night, and it's a moment that you would have to be there to experience it. However, let's talk about the opposite. Let's talk about Tommy Fury now. Tommy Fury has lows on the line. Number one, he is the little brother of Tyson Fury, the best heavyweight in the world right now. He comes from a fighting family, but also more people knowing him because of his reality star. He was on Love Island, I believe that's what it's called. So there are some people in the boxing world that look down on that. Some people in boxing just want you to eat, sleep, shit boxing, which is fine, but some people just have other interests. Some people want to be entertainers. Some people, want to do music. Some people want to be acting. So, with that said, there are people in the boxing world who think Tommy's only where he's at because of his last name. So Tommy Fury has people who he has to prove wrong. He has naysayers himself that he wants to shut up. But imagine the pressure that Tommy's going through right now. He had his family right on him. He has London right on him. I don't think people's talking about that enough. If Jake beats Tommy Fury, that'd be another British person he beat up. He beat up Deji, British. He beat up Gibb, who's a British. This will be his third person. We all want him to fight KSI, which I don't think is happening. But there are so many people who's rooting for Tommy that he's feeling pressure. And he's feeling pressure for the first time because if you look at his previous fight, he's always been on a prelim. And roughly so, he only has 20 amateur fights. I guess Jake will be his fifth or sixth fight. I'm not 100% check. I'll double check. But he's a prelim fighter. Now he's main event. And now there's pressure. He hasn't even been at the previous press conferences. I just looked on BoxRec, and this will be Tommy Fury's 8th pro fight. So he has all the advantages. This will be Jake's 5th, and this will be Tommy's 8th. But with that said, all the pressure's on Tommy. Because if Jake loses to Tommy Fury, he can go back being a YouTuber. He can go back being a troll. He can basically go back to his old life. If Tommy was to somehow get knocked out by a YouTuber or knocked out of Jake Paul of all people, I don't know where he goes. If he can't beat up a kid who started to, I want you guys to really, that's what I'm saying. If Tommy Fury cannot beat up a kid who only boxing for 3 years, you have defeated all these people who Jake has fought. Has been shorter than he has. It's only been skinnier, or let me say weightless, than he has. If Tommy Fury cannot beat up him, he would never be a world champion. So for Jake, it's short term. Because Jake is in for milestones. Tommy Fury, well, all of Jake's fight has been milestone. But he wants to fight McGregor. He wants to fight probably Nate Diaz, but if they give him Nick, he'll probably take them too. He wants to fight Canelo. Canelo's went up in cruiserweight. That could possibly happen if Canelo just wants, a quick buck, an easy payday. But Jake wants milestones. Him defeating Tommy Fury is a milestone. Tommy Fury doesn't see Jake as that. He sees him as easy payday, wherever. But if he was to lose, where does he go next? He lost to a guy with one amateur fight, against Deji, and everything else was against people who Jake was shorter than. So Tommy has everything in his advantage. If Tommy was to somehow lose, I don't hear no excuse. He has every single advantage than Jake. Every single one. So it's going to be very interesting as this fight turns out. But if Jake Paul was to knock out Tommy Fury, he would have people like, you know what, I don't like you, but respect. But Tommy, if Tommy was getting knocked out, you would see boxers openly on Twitter and IG be like, damn, Tommy Fury's trash. While Tyson's the only good Fury out here. Like, Tommy would be ridiculed. He would be embarrassed. And Jake would use him as a stepping stone to probably a Nate Diaz fight or a Conor McGregor fight. That was the other milestone. I couldn't think of the other milestone fighter. It was KSI, McGregor, Nate Diaz, and Canelo. So, but yeah, Tommy Fury could be a stepping stone for Jake Paul to bigger and better fights. I just laid out what both fighters have to lose and to gain. Jake, he'll break the internet. The whole world will be laughing at him. If Tommy loses, Tyson Fury said he won't have the Fury name anymore. That's bullshit. That's boxing BS. That's just to hype the fight up. He's literally a son. They might tell him to retire, but he's always going to be a son to them. But again, Tommy, he'll be looked at different. He'll be like, oh man, you're not a real fighter. You lost a fucking YouTuber. Or Jake Paul of all people. If Jake wins, that'll be a stepping stone to bigger and better fights. Jake only signed a 2-fight deal with Showtime. First one was against Woodley. Second is against Tommy. So we'll see. Because Canelo's back with the zone. Basically, you can do a pay-per-view with PBC, Showtime, and go back, whatever. So don't be shocked if Jake doesn't stay with Showtime. Unless they treat him well, which we don't know. But if Jake wins, he will use Tommy Fury as a stepping stone to bigger and bigger fights. Okay, and now with my prediction. Oh man, it's fun. So many people aren't 100% sure about this fight. I'm not sure about this fight because Tommy Fury has always been a prelim fighter. And he has fought Americans, he fought dudes with losing records. Like, everybody knew Tommy was going to fight him. They knew this guy was here to get Tommy Fury's confidence up and to pass his record. That's how every boxer, his first 4 or 5 fights are Americans to get his confidence up, his name a little bit up, pat his stat, etc., etc. This fight, people actually doubting Tommy. So again, it's pressure he's never seen before, but also it's main event. Being a main event versus prelims is a big deal. And if he lies, it's no different. He's lying. 100% lying. In the prelim, you are a afterthought. Sorry, but you are. When you're in the main event, all the attention, all the eyeballs is on you. For Jake, his whole career has been co-main event and then now recently main eventer. So being main event boxing events, Jake's used to it. And now time for my official prediction for Tommy Fury versus Jake Paul. And I'm going with Tommy Fury. I have Tommy Fury defeating Jake Paul via unanimous decision. I do think Jake Paul's going to surprise some people. I think he may even gain some respect for some people. I've seen him having 1 or 2 rounds off of Tommy. But that doesn't even mean much because some judges gave Woodley the whole fight when all he had was 1 or 2 rounds. So, but I think Tommy Fury's going to win. I think his fight instincts is going to kick in. I think he has better coaches around him. And I just think I think he and Jake the same size. He might be a little bit taller. I believe he has a longer reach. He's younger than Jake, so that's a little bit of an advantage. So I'm gonna go with Tommy Fury. I don't see him knocking out Jake. I just don't. If you look at Logan versus Floyd, when Floyd was taking up Logan and Logan was just holding on, and he was surviving, I see Jake doing the same thing. I see Jake surviving, just holding on. I'm sure the crowd's gonna boo. I'm probably gonna want to boo, but he's gonna be, you ain't knocking me out. But the boxing, you save yourself from getting knocked out and make it to the very next round. That's how I see it. I do believe that this is a 8-round fight. So Tommy could easily win 6-2, 6 rounds to Jake's 2. And at the end, they would embrace, the hug, and it's like every single quote unquote grudge, boxing grudge, MMA fight. So, and then I do see Jake saying, hey, I've been fighting nonstop since 2018, which is true. Since his pro boxing debut, which was 2020, because he fought right before the pandemic. He fought Gibb, which was Super Bowl week. Super Bowl with Chiefs versus 49ers. That's 2020. So let's count since February of 2020. He fought Gibb, Nate, Ben, Woolley, and now Fury. Come on now. He's been very, very active. And so I think he'll say, hey, I'm going on vacation, but I'll come back next summer or spring. And that's what I think he'll do. And of course, some people's going to make fun and this, that, because, he's a troll. When people who you hate lose, you're going to take your days, you're going to take your shots. But hey, that's the fight game, that's sports. So what's going to happen after Tommy Fury beats Jake? We gotta wait and see. He did say he wants to fight Logan, which I think will actually be a better fight because Logan is a natural cruiserweight. He's heavier, he's stronger, and I want to see that fight. I actually think Logan will beat Tommy Fury. Now, if Tommy goes in, that's demolishes Jake. I might have my second doubts about Logan beating Tommy Fury, but that's possible. So that's my prediction. What you guys think? Do you guys have Tommy win like I do? I have him winning via a decision. Do you have him win knockout? If so, what round? Do you have Jake winning? And how you see him winning by, via the judges? He's gonna stop Tommy Fury? Let me know. Now I'm gonna talk about a high-profile fight on Jake Paul versus Tommy Fury undercard, and that's future NFL Hall of Famer Frank Gore versus former NBA All-Star Deron Williams. And when this fight was announced, it was so random because I heard rumblings of Frank Gore saying, I want to go into boxing. I said, okay, who's he going to fight? And then he's fighting an NBA player, which I was like, what? That's just random. Now, if you don't live in America, you probably don't know who these two are. I live in America, I live in Kentucky, so I know exactly who these guys are. Frank Gore has been in the NFL for so long. His son is in college football. I think his son, if eligible, could make the NFL next year. Like that's how long he's been playing. So he's been playing for like 12 years, and he's like a top 5 running backs just in stats. He's not in. I don't put him top 5 running backs, but just stat wise, dude's legit. And football is such a physical sport, much more than the NBA. So Frank Gore has had his bell rung numerous of times. I mean, he has had concussions. He's been hit hard, go to the sideline, shake it off, and go right back in the game. Which is why I don't see. And Deron Williams was a guard, I believe a point guard. So he wasn't in the paint, elbowing dudes, being a goon, being an enforcer. So I really don't see how he's gonna be physical. So I'm picking Frank Gore. They did uh, at the weigh-ins a face to face. Deron Williams is taller, so I'm assuming he's gonna have the reach advantage. I gotta tell you guys, Frank Gore looks serious. He's serious about this boxing thing. He's gonna be a world champion, no. But once you're an athlete and you just can't play anymore, you still want to be competitive. You still want to be in the gym. You still want that, that crowd reaction. Like I said, Frank Gore is, I don't know how many total touchdowns he has, but he's gonna be a future Hall of Famer. It's all stats. So he loves getting energy from the crowd. He loves winning. He hates losing. And that's a team sport. Deron Williams. Basketball team sport. This is all on you. It's just you versus your opponent and the referee. That's all. So I can see him having a few fights like these, fighting an NBA player, maybe find an NFL player, maybe even a YouTuber. He said he wants to fight Jake Paul. I if Frank Gore wins, Jake beats Tommy, maybe do Frank Gore, Jake Super Bowl weekend. Maybe just throwing it out there. But I don't see it. Frank Gore doesn't bring that much to the table. But with that said, I have Frank Gore winning. He we look at him, and again, I knew at this month, I knew he was gonna fight, but I knew Frank Gore was going to be boxing months ago, so he's just serious about it. I gotta give him credit. Now, this is Deron Williams and Frank Gore's first ever fight, so Frank Gore can go in there and just shit the bed and just forget everything that he's been taught. Because, as I like to say, the big difference between the dim lights, which is the boxing gym, and the bright lights, which is fighting in front of a crowd, in front of millions of people online. Millions of people may not buy this pay-per-view, but best believe millions of people will be watching this um, event, mostly on illegal streams, so I'll be there in person. But those guys, you know, Deron Williams, when he's on the floor, it's him and four of his teammates, and I think two, three referees, so he's used to being on a big stage. But this is totally different. This is you have to fight to survive, you have to fight to win. And so let me know what you guys think. Are you guys excited about that fight? Because truthfully, that's the only undercard fight I really care about. I know Amanda's fighting. She's the one who signed to most valuable promotions. She signed with Jake Paul. She was the co-main event on Jake Paul's last fight. But no respect to her, but I don't care about who she fights. If she was fighting Kay Taylor, I'd be excited. But she isn't. Um, Jake got his sparring partner in another fight, Anthony Taylor. The guy who he's fighting is part of the Diaz camp, and Taylor beat him in Bellator, I believe. So Taylor beat him in MMA. Let's see if he can beat him in boxing, which is something that I have been saying that should happen years ago. It was on this podcast. It was another podcast I did. But I said Logan Paul and J-Max should have a two-fight deal: one fight in MMA, one fight in boxing. And Anthony Taylor's doing it. This will be the first fight, I believe. They won't be no main event level, but I believe they'll be the first people to have one fight in MMA and one fight in boxing. So that is history now. Do I really care about that fight? No. Those fights, I'll probably walk around, see who's all there. Cause TikTok versus YouTubers, I didn't leave my seat. I want to watch every single fight. For this one, I don't mind, stepping out, meeting up with people and stuff like that. And I'll be on the floor, so maybe I, bump into like Fuzi, Keemstar, hopefully the Ireland boys, you know, uh, Nick Ireland, and all of them will be there, and just run into you guys. So, I got excited for Frank Gore versus Deron Williams. There's been other fights announced, but I really don't care about those. So, let me know what you guys think about the undercard. I will say this undercard, because Deron Williams, Frank Gore, I'm more excited about. The Willie versus Jake, I had zero interest in the undercard. I know, and I'm kind of glad I didn't go because I was working. But after watching back the event, there was no moments like I had to be there. The Willie versus Jake was all right, wasn't all that great, but hopefully this event's good, man. I really hope so. It's gonna be a legendary night. If Jake beats Ty Fury, he's the first YouTuber to beat. Let me play that again. If Jake Paul beats Tommy Fury, he'll be the first YouTube boxer to defeat a pro boxer. And if Tommy Fury beats Jake Paul, he'll be the first one to finally shut Jake Paul. It's gonna be a great night, man. We'll see. And that's gonna do it for this episode. So if you made this far into the episode, I want to say thanks for listening. Again, I do this podcast because I really do enjoy YouTube boxing. I knew after KSI versus Logan won, something was here. I didn't know what, but I said there's something in this sport, which is YouTube boxing. And again, just this year alone, there's been 8 different YouTube boxing events. First one was Logan versus Floyd, then YouTubers versus TikTokers, and then the bare knuckle with Blueface and Nick Ireland. You had Social Knockout 1 and 2. You had Jake versus Bully, Jake versus Ben Askren. That's 7. So if I don't think I'm forgetting any. No, I don't think so. That's 7. Jake versus Tommy, that'd be 8. And if Such Knockout 3 happens, yeah, that'd be like 8, 9 YouTube boxing events in 1 year. So I really do enjoy these events. I enjoy talking to you guys. That's gonna do it for this event. Again, make sure you follow me on all my socials. That's Fight Lounge on Twitter, Fight Lounge on IG, Fight Lounge on YouTube. And this podcast is also available on YouTube and with all other podcast platforms. So that's gonna do it for me. I'll see you guys next time. Peace out.